name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight's guests are Mr. Ken Kushner.
Hello.
And my dad, Max Bendich. Welcome to the show, guys.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. So I'm so happy that Ken can join us, because usually when I do this show with my dad, it's just me and my dad. But now this is the second time that you're going to be on a show with my dad.
Well, it's an honor to be here with your father, and I love hearing his stories.
Right.
You got great stories.
I have. I have. And I never stop telling them.
I can't wait to hear another one today.
But you know, I guess if I can, I mean, there's, I guess your father and my father have similar backgrounds in terms of.
I think they grew up in the same old neighborhood from what we were discussing earlier.
But your dad's a lot younger than my
father's 86.
Yeah, but my dad's 99.
He's got him by a few years.
Yeah, but it's the South Bronx. Yeah, that's where you grew up, right, Pop?
The South Bronx.
What?
No, we lived in a place called 528 East 136th Street. It was 136th Street was divided into every street was divided into three parts. The first part, at that time, downtown the Bronx, the first part were the Jewish people from Brook Avenue to the middle, to the third of the block. From St. Anne's Avenue, we were between Brook Avenue and St. Anne. The Irish lived, and in between were the Russians, the Polish, all other nationalities. One people were never there, the black people. It wasn't time. This was about 1920. I was born in 1915, so 1920 to about 1930 or 1930. But I lived all my young life on 136th Street.
And Dad, what was it? There was no TV.
No.
Did they have a radio? Did your parents?
Wait.
Oh.
Again, we never considered ourselves poor. At that time, no. Even where I am now, when I tell that to the people, there was no gas burners. We had wooden stoves. We had coal. The coal company would send over a coal truck. And if you notice, in the middle of not the gutter, of the sidewalk, near in front of a house was like a sewer. But it wasn't you lifted up the cover, and the coal company would put down some sort of a slide, and they would fill up the basement, and every apartment had a coal. And when you finished that kind of coal, you went and you bought others. Now, they also had something else. We didn't have electricity. We had something called gas jets. And how did it work? You have to have a quarter, and a quarter was an unbelievable amount of money. You worked for an hour, maybe even more and you put it into a box, and it would fill up with gas. And then, when you have these lights like this, not the other, you have to go. There were jets. Take a match, light them, and that's how you had light.
Wow, I never knew that. Did you know that, Ken?
I never heard that one.
Then the only reason you never heard it, because again I'm starting from 1915 born, so my parents must have come at 1912.
Right.
I don't know, and immediately it takes 9 months to get a kid and everything else. I was born, and then, like I tell Alan every day, my mother would say, "Hello, look what a guy we have here, Maxilla. Let's try for another one." So, and maybe we'll get 2 for the price of 1.
And they did.
So,
That's
no,
wild.
I'm joking. And they got 2 kids. Now here you see a young lady, and this actually happened.
Yeah.
The carriages that they were for twins, they were big carriages. One time, one of my brothers falls out. They push it, and the lady is hollering, "Your child!" My mother must have been talking, and sure enough, well, the kid could have been lost, but it couldn't be lost. It fell out. Life was good. We didn't have any. We didn't have any money. But none of us in the building thought of ourselves as poor. 5-story block, the houses, you either lived to the front, and that cost maybe about $3 or $4 more on the same floor. If you lived to the back, it was less. We lived in the back all the time.
You were a Depression kid.
Huh?
You were a kid during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
You lived
right.
through it.
But none of us thought of us as poor. We were, and not only in this building, in most of the buildings.
So, Dad, did all the kids, they didn't realize they were poor too the entire?
No, nobody. No. How did we live? And good thing. How did we play by the season? Now, just imagine when you go to school, we had something called knickers.
Yeah, knickers.
All right, somebody knickers, and so, and we also had cards from the comics, a strip of cards for about a penny, 10 of them, and we would cut them open, and eventually we would have a stack of them, and you and I, we would sit down near the curb, and we would gamble for them. We were gamblers.
It was like with baseball cards.
Yeah,
Yes,
flipping
we had
cards.
later on. Later
This
on,
before
no,
baseball cards.
we
Wow.
didn't have the baseball cards. We had actors and actresses, large cards, about that big. They must have been 2 cents. But I'm talking about the small cards first. And we would get these strips, and I would gamble with you, or he would gamble with me. Eventually, we didn't gamble for one thing: 5 C's. 5 C's mean if you get 5, the whole stack that you have, you lose. Now, when you get sometimes you can have that many cards. What do you do with them? You go to your pocket, cut your pocket, and you fill your
Knickers.
Everybody did that. And
So what they do, they keep the knickers tight, and then they'd fill up the whole
you
leg
gotta-
with the cards.
No, we had to have knickers to go to school.
I
You
know.
did. Now, just imagine coming up, and your mother know about it, and you get a beating every time. Why? She has to.
So your knickers.
So she has to. So,
The pockets. Right?
and that was one thing. Immies, you know, the round
Marbles.
marbles. The sidewalk comes like this, and we go. So we take an Emmy and throw it. Now the second guy, if he comes a span away or hits it, he wins. Now just imagine kids. They throw the first one, they throw the second one, and there's about that much more. And we almost stand on. We were almost standing on to get that extra.
Breaking your thing.
Right? No, but those things, we didn't have too many of them. Something else. On 137th Street was a market. A market from the beginning, from Brook Avenue to St. Anne's. And only push carts or horses and wagon. And I used to work. I was a few years older than most of the kids. So I would work on a Saturday for $2. One of the men had 2 push carts selling bananas. And I would sell the bananas on one side. He would sell the bananas on the other side. And it wasn't, I think, till about 6 o'clock or something. We ate. And because it was $2 or whatever, I made money for. We lived a little better than the other people. But that's nothing. Every now and then, there's a knock on the door, open up, and a lady from the 3rd floor is bringing up some food to my mother. Or sometimes a lady on the 2nd floor gets a knock from my mother, and they traded. We had Mama Liga from one, we had this kind of thing.
It was a different life, right?
It was
Can you imagine today having that?
It was a peaceful. So we went to school. We went to school PS 43, and the Irish and we were good friends. But outside, every now and then the Irish would come in. We had nothing to do with the Polish or the middle thing, but we were friends and a little enemies. They would beat us up. Every time they would beat us up. And look, but we were.
My father, he doesn't hold grudges or anything like that.
I hope not.
No.
Look, it happens. And we went to the school together. Everything was good.
Tell him that story about the guy in the that was the teacher? The guy was sleeping in the class, and you said, "What do you?"
A wonderful friend. You. Yeah. And this is already in high school.
He told me this 50 years ago. I still remember it.
In high school.
That should be a good one if it's,
Right,
you
it's
remember.
great.
It's a good story.
In high school, we lived 1 block away from each other. Everyone, we were wonderful friends. And then the
teacher?
The teacher notices. The teacher notices that he's drizzling off. And then with Joe Berman, he said, "Joe, Berman, whatever. What are your ears used for?" And he wakes up. I said, hollered out, "To breathe."
He tells him to breathe.
To breathe.
Oh, you told him to say something?
And he gets up there, "To breathe."
And that's the big story. That's the joke.
Some friends.
Max sent him right under the bus.
Some friends. No,
priceless.
we loved each other. Right? We loved each other. It was good.
What other
Now-
game? Well, the thing for Aaron's sake. What other games did you played? What did you guys do?
Now we played something called Johnny on a Pony.
I heard of that game.
I used to play that game.
Well, I'll tell you, that's
how you
Johnny
break
on a
it back.
Pony. 4 on 4, 4 people and 4 people. We're against the wall, and the man's there, and the other one gets on your knees and holds you. Another one underneath. In other words, it's like a table.
And you got 4 people
Holding on
to
Now
each
here
other's
comes
back.
one guy running, and he jumps up and he lands.
He's trying to break the line. And
And,
you're back.
and if you don't break it, all right, you have 4 guys.
We used to do
You
that.
want-
Well, 1 second though. During the '60s, we used to do that at the fountain in Central Park. I mean, killer ones where you have a line about 10 people.
They got rid of that game because when I was a kid, Johnny the Pony had already run its course.
Yeah, but that game you could really get hurt.
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
that's the purpose of the game is to get hurt.
Yeah.
Or hurt the
No,
other
no,
guy.
because
I mean, that's what I mean, to hurt the
there's
other
one
guy.
guy on top of the other.
That's what I mean, to hurt the other guy.
No, but something else. We played stickball.
That was huge in the Bronx.
Now with stickball, every 2 buildings in front in the gutter was a sewer. Now the sewer became a base, like second base. There were automobiles. Well, I'll tell you something that happened to my in-laws' family. Unbelievable. They had automobiles about that in that time, and we would sometimes, if we broke a window, then the parents, sometimes we broke a window. We hit the ball, and the ball goes flying, and we played that game, and
But go on. You said something about automobiles. What happened with the automobile?
no, the automobile became a base.
Right.
In other words, here's a car, so
Right.
it became third base, first base, and here's the
And
one,
home.
one sewer over there, and the pitcher is out in the front, and you throw the ball.
Right.
We played handball.
That was it. Right.
Now listen to this handball, and this is a remarkable thing. There were 4 or 5 of our friends. Sundays we would climb over. We all went to school. Sunday the school was closed. We would all climb over the fence, and we would go and play. And why? There was a building, 5-story building. It's right in the schoolyard, so it was empty. And we would play. You hit a ball, and we keep on playing. It's called handball. And the police knew about it, but we were quiet. But one time it wasn't so quiet, but we didn't realize it. So the police came around, and they actually pulled all of us into a police car, a van, took us over to the police station, and talked to us. They liked us. Alan, they liked us.
They let you slide?
Yeah, what?
They didn't
let
get
you
you in trouble?
slide?
You didn't get in trouble.
No, never. They
Translation.
never.
Oh, translation.
Never. All of a sudden they said, "Look, you guys think you're so good. How about playing us?" No kidding. No.
I remember this story.
Wow. Easy. 2 of the fellows were the best. They played schools together. They were even written in the paper. So we better nickel over it. This time we played the police. The police come over. We didn't have to climb over the fence. They had keys. They opened up the gate. We came in, and we started playing. They were good, but when the Irish, something else. When you came from Ireland, you're a policeman. Immediately, you knew the language, you knew everything, and the Democratic Club ran everything.
Yeah, all the police were Irish.
That's right. And most of those policemen were good. They would even come up to your house and tell your father, he did a bad thing. Talk to them and everything.
Right.
And they really loved you.
It was a different world back then, right, Bob?
Now comes something else. So we start playing them. And we notice one thing about them. It's called a underhand ball, whatever it is. They throw the ball up first of all, then you hit it back and forth, and then you try to hit the bottom so that there's no bounce.
Right, you
and
have to get it. You have to.
Now,
I remember that.
Wait a minute, wait. But now imagine this. How did the Irish play? They didn't throw the ball. They went underhand, boom. Now, and how they controlled the ball. We watched them. They even told us that we couldn't do it. The ball, see, I'm looking at the door over there. Mm-hmm. It went about an inch.
Those were the killers. That's what they used to call them.
When they started, you couldn't get them nowhere.
Right.
And then one of them fellows said, let's try, and they successful. Let's try something. Instead of hitting the ball low, let's try to hit the ball high. So we played high. From that moment on, they lost.
You beat them every time. You cracked their code.
We better beat them. And they liked it. They said, look how you figured it out. No kidding. They never bothered us. We played in, we were lucky. No, most of us were lucky.
Yeah.
There was a war in Europe. That's why we came
Well,
over.
I want to ask one thing. Remember they used to work in the drugs with the beer. Talk about that. I think you like that.
No, wait.
Oh.
Something else. Whiskey, you couldn't get whiskey. You couldn't get whiskey unless you had a prescription.
This was prohibition.
And
Yeah, he lived
wait a
through the
minute.
Prohibition.
Unless you had a prescription from the doctor.
And he worked in a
No,
pharmacy.
really. I mean,
He worked in a pharmacy.
Oh,
wait.
boy, you must have seen a lot of...
no,
a lot of
wait,
prescriptions.
I was part of it. What do you mean? So, what happened? One day, I saw what was happening, but one day the doctor said, go outside. When you see them coming, come in and tell me. They come in, and what do I see? They go into the back, and this guy has a stack of money. Money, unbelievable, because it's a bottle of whiskey. I think at that time it might have been $5. I don't know.
A lot of money.
About that.
Right.
And this went on month after month after month. And I was part of the gang. I don't want to get interrupted.
You're interrupting yourself.
You just interrupted yourself, Max. I like that.
No, wait.
You should apologize to yourself for interrupting yourself.
Right now, I live in Cathay House. It's a life care thing and everything else.
Right.
You're a celebrity then.
Wait, forget about
Because
your
of you?
celebrity. Wait a minute. This actually happened. We have on a Friday, a woman comes in. She a wonderful lecturer about everything that happened years ago in the Jewish part of it and everything else. They were discussing Jewish gangsters.
Oh, back in the day.
Now look what before she starts anything, and this place is parked. How many people over here had Jews, had gangsters as children? No.
What do you mean?
Half of them had,
Who were gangsters as children? Or what?
no,
What do you mean had?
no,
Knew
they
them
were
or their
gangsters.
parents were gangsters?
Were gangsters. The kids were
Kids were
gangsters.
gangsters? Oh.
Oh, you mean like hooligans?
The kids were gangsters. Young kids, but by young, I mean even 20.
Right.
One even put up 2 hands. I had 2 children as gangsters.
Oh, they had children as gangsters.
Everybody,
Children.
yes, they had children as gangsters.
Right.
And what the discussion was, why were they gangsters? You can't find jobs.
Right.
Either you're going to
Well, that's the same
become.
thing now. I mean-
and there was no mafia. Wait, at that time, who were the Jewish? Who were the mafia? The Jews. The
Yeah.
Jews. The
You had
Jews.
Dutch Schultz, you
Well,
had
no, if you
Meyer
remember,
Lansky.
wait a minute. Lex Diamond.
Yeah.
Meyer Lansky.
Lepke and Dara. They once.
Arnold
They were, and listen, no kidding. Coney Island has a big building, a 10-story building, Half Moon Hotel, And one day, somebody opens up the window and throws out a man. Wait a minute.
That sounds like a movie.
Who was that man? Right? It seems that they found a squealer or something. And these are Jews doing it.
Aye.
Oy vey.
Barry.
And they went and
He liked Barry.
I love Barry. He's a good guy.
also what happened? Again, Dutch Schultz and
Meyer Lansky, all those guys.
the trucks would go on into Canada, get whiskey, not beer, I think really whiskey,
Yeah.
but
Whatever it is.
whatever it is, come across the border and come down to New York, or there are lakes. They would dump them into the lakes, and when they come into New York, the police would grab the trucks, nothing in the trucks. But little by little, no, this is, no.
I know.
I saw this on Boardwalk Empire.
Little by little,
But he doesn't watch that, so it's
little by little, the men became so efficient. They never even looked at the trucks anymore. All they wanted was to be quiet. But then Dutch Schultz comes in, and he decides he wants to be the boss. And then from that moment on, there were fights. And who were they fighting? Jew against Jew, because the
But
Jews.
Dad, tell me about when you were a kid. We can see this on the History Channel. No, but it's good.
No, I'm reliving it because I've seen it.
But
And
one thing, he actually did. I mean, you brought. Did you deliver the booze in the back of the pharmacy?
No, wait.
You just brought the guy in.
I had nothing to do. No, I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Why? All I had to do was to make sure.
But there's
that
a statute of limitations,
Actually,
Bob.
You're safe. I think it's safe to say you're safe.
He's an attorney, so he.
I think
He
you're
knows.
okay.
if he knew what happened at the end of the war,
Oh God! He made a fortune during the war.
if he knew what
He sold
happened,
watches. But that's another. That's another episode.
did you ever? Where do you hear an episode where, again, I consider myself, both of you, the luckiest guy in the world.
I
Wait,
remember this part.
no, now come. But there are two. I think I told
Yeah, he
this.
told, he did
I
it. You
told
told it
this-
last 2 weeks ago.
I told,
You told us last time about the stories that made you the luckiest guy.
You did.
that's all.
Well, he technically did answer your question, though, about what his childhood was like.
Yeah, that's
He
it.
talked about the games.
My son's going to be so happy.
Your son got what he wanted.
That's it.
And he got a flavor of the old Bronx neighborhood.
And I think it was good because he had you to talk to, and I think that's good because we talked for 36 episodes.
Sure.
But to have someone new who he likes, you know.
Do you have, Max, you have old photos for the from the Bronx?
We have
You
old.
should get some to Alan, put them on the
Oh,
show.
we did.
Oh.
You know, the first 10 or 12 episodes, we start talking, and then I put the photos.
That's nice.
I mean, but
Those are
after
the great
30,
times.
yeah, but after 20 episodes after that, I couldn't do the photo. I mean, that editing process was such a pain in the
Remember,
neck.
I was working in a drugstore. How do you get? You buy film, a roll of film. You had a box camera. You put the film in there, 12 or whatever it is. You bring it back to the pharmacy. Did you know a pharmacy? They have it developed, and that's how we made. And those pictures we kept.
Sure.
Oh, you should see. I mean, we have so many pictures.
Yeah, I've seen some
No,
old books. They're great.
We were lucky. We knew how to do it, and it was cheap.
And you almost became a photographer at one point, and then you had some
yeah.
fancy pictures, 3-dimensional pictures back in the day. Where what happened with that photography thing?
I don't know. I mean,
No, but-
whatever happened.
But there was a point in time where he actually he had these fancy kind of pictures.
When's the last time you went to the Bronx, the old neighborhood? When's the last time you drove around there?
The most unbelievable thing. 136th Street was a street and everything. So I go with my wife. We would go riding all over. We go to the old
He
neighborhood.
drove until he was like 95.
We go over to the old neighborhood. The street has disappeared.
Doesn't exist
There's
anymore.
no street there anymore?
There was no street.
put
It
like
went
a
from
teen
100
school.
Put like a big building.
You tell him. I'm sorry, Daddy.
I'm the one that
Sorry, Pop. It's your story.
Don't steal his thunder.
But again, the developments they're called, and it goes from one street to 3 streets. No, really.
And it's like
and,
projects.
and the buildings are 20 stories high and everything. And when I came there the first time with my wife, there was no 136th Street from Brook Avenue to St. Anne's.
That's a shame.
So why is it a shame? Usually the grandfather says, "Come on to the grand. I want to show you where I was brought up." the place is not the
Now
place.
you got to go to a basement of a building and be like, yeah, it's right
But he does have
about
pictures,
there.
and you should see. I mean, he was a strong guy. I mean, he was like
He's still a strong guy.
You don't know how. I mean, yeah, and with all the surgeries and everything he's had, it's amazing. It's amazing. I
Well,
mean,
his constitution as a young man
Right.
enables him to have a healthy older
and
years.
also his mind.
Yeah, he's
No,
all there.
But he explained me a good thing. Alan explained me. I was a laundry man. I would pick up things heavy, and I would take
Go
them out.
up and down
In other
stairs.
words, it was like an exercise, and it kept on for a long time.
But I think it's the way you look at life, that really is the thing that keeps him going.
He's doing something right.
But he never gets upset about anything.
Why spent the small stuff, right?
Right, that's it.
And it doesn't mean anything.
That's what
Exactly.
he says. I would get angry. I'd get mad at him. He'd say, "Alan, why are you so angry? Words don't mean anything." All these things. I mean, that's his philosophy. And as many times as I tried to say, I don't understand. How come you never get angry? And he'll switch it over, saying,
Now I'll go back. You weren't, no, you possibly, until right now you heard me, Alan knows about this thing. The war is over. Where was I? I was supposed to be in the Battle of the Bulge, right? And get killed. Killed, 100%. Why do I know that? In the Times one time, there was a beautiful op-ed page.
he says this every episode.
And
This is his story of the day.
oh, you heard that right?
No, it's okay. But tell him, we won the war, but we also lost the war.
That's it. Unbelievable.
What did we lose? I thought we won the war.
No, so many people
No,
died.
we won the war.
Yeah, we
but
lost a lot.
For nothing.
At the Battle of
The
the Bulge?
Battle of the Bulge.
I think it was 75,000 people
Wait a minute.
died
Now
of
listen.
ours and 100,000 of the Germans.
It's almost 20% of our casualties of the whole war.
That's it. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow.
They are still there in the VA. I live right on one side,
He lives across the
and
street.
and the VA.
That's heavy.
A lot of them frozen. Well, they're frozen to death. They are frozen. People don't believe that. One other thing.
You got to do it
A
quick.
general, all right.
The general says that we ran out of time, Pop.
All right.
But you know what? There's always another episode.
This is a good one.
And I know that, thank you, Ken. It was great having you.
Always a pleasure to be on the show.
But it
I
was-
love the show and support the show.
But it's wonderful that my father had someone else to talk to for a change.
And as someone who enjoys stories of the old days,
Right,
'cause I love that stuff.
And I appreciate it. But of course, there's only one thing left to say, as I always say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.